Hi everybody and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion. Sorry about my hair. I have been laying on the sofa because I've been tired today. And I thought I'd do this video because I was scrolling on Facebook today and I came across this American lawyer. And he basically talks about, do women know how much damage they do to their children when they stop their children from seeing their fathers? And this is when it's for no good reason. So there's no good reason whatsoever. Now, if I was to speak to my mum, not my mum, my wife, she would say, oh no, no woman would ever do that. And I understand she's going to defend women. Okay. But do women do it? Categorically, yes. Okay. And like I did a video recently. Okay. I know women that have done it. I know I've got an ex-girlfriend that did it. My mother did it. And my ex-girlfriend's done it to me for the last 16 years. Okay. She stopped me from seeing my daughter. I've never been able to see my daughter. You know, my daughter's, I suppose, coming on for 16 and a half years of age. Okay. So I've never seen my daughter. Okay. Seen images of her. That's about it. I've never even spoken to her on the phone. And like I said, I was scrolling on Facebook and I came across this guy. And he did this video about how much damage women actually do. Now, obviously, he is American. He is quite outspoken. And what I'm going to do, okay, is play the video. Now, this was on Facebook. Now, this got uploaded on the 30th of August. Now, this guy only defends, as a lawyer, men. Does not defend women. Don't know why, because men do this to women as well. Men manage to get custody of children as well. So there isn't an argument, for argument's sake. It is prejudice and sexual discrimination at the end of the day. I don't actually agree with him from that point of view. But then I listen to what he says. And this video is 1 minute 10 seconds long. So what I'm going to do is drag it over and play it for you. And then what I want people to do is let me know what they actually think. So here we
What
go.
will women never understand about how much they're hurting the dad?
The fact that they're actually hurting their kids more. They're doing lifetime damage to their children. They are doing damage to their kids that will be felt for generations, because what they're doing is they're creating a child who is insecure in the world. Because what fathers bring to parenthood is that sense of adventure, that sense of wonder, that sense of going out and exploring. When that gets shut down, it's almost impossible to get it back as an adult. They're not well established in their relationships. They have attachment issues for the rest of their life. Girls generally have daddy issues, as we call them, kind of colloquially, which leads to early drug abuse, early sexual activity, worse performance in schools. With boys, it ends up being anger issues. They got mommy issues. They're angry at women. They have trouble establishing relationships. They get into drug use. They get into gangs. They get into violence. They end up in prisons. It's just bad all around. Dads are a really important part of a child's development, and if a mom is actively keeping a father from kids when he wants to be involved, she's not just hurting him. She's a bad mom. She's destroying that child's future and feeling justified because, well, she's just a single mom. I think it's a bunch of BS.
What will women...
So that's the video. Now the question is he right? Now there's certain things in that video that I disagree with. Okay. Now, if I was to give my personal life story, the thing that I would say is I came from a broken home. I got brought up on a council estate. Okay. My father is an alcoholic. Okay. My mum had alcohol issues. She would deny it, but point blank, she did have alcohol issues. Okay. My mother and father broke up. Their marriage broke up when I was about 2 or 3. I've never actually been told the truth of why, both say that it was due to violence. One blames one person, the other blames the other person. So, but my father came out of my life when I was about, I'd say 7 or 8 years of age. And I never saw him until I was about 18 or 19. And the only reason he came back into my life was he'd been diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis. And because women tend to go on the pill, you know, he was fearing for my sister's life that if she started taking the pill or anything like that, she could end up with blood clots. So that's why he got in touch. Well, he managed to track us down because he got in touch with the church. I can't remember which church it is now. Salvation Army. So that's why I say church, Salvation Army. And they managed to track me down because being a taxpayer, I just started working as a chef in Hamble in Southampton. So Salvation Army were able to track me down because of that, and they won't do it, track children down until they hit their 18th birthday. Okay, so I basically went a 10-year period without seeing my father. Now, the irony is, when I was what? So it would have been 2008, I got a woman pregnant. So part of my life story, 2008, got a woman pregnant. Was just recovering from a seriously bad epileptic seizure. And I thought, fantastic, everything's going to be brilliant. Everything I've ever wanted. Family, 3.2 children, you know, all that type of stuff that men want. They never openly admit, but that's what they want. And I upset her one day by saying something stupid. It was an off-the-cuff comment, and it was ridiculously stupid. And I've had it held against me for the last 16 and a half years. Okay, and what I basically said was, because she said, I will always love you no matter what. That's what my ex-girlfriend said. That's what my girlfriend Sophie said. And I was stupid enough, and I will say this, I was stupid enough to say, well, even if I cheated on you. That's what I said to her. And because of that comment, I've never seen my daughter. Now, she was born, I won't give the date of birth, okay, back in August 2009. I have never seen her because I got banned from the hospital and she's refused to allow me to see her. Even to this day, even though she's 16 now and she's technically allowed to make her own choices, she still goes out of her way to stop me from seeing her. Now, by going via that video of what that solicitor says, is he correct? And I would say yes, and I would say no. Because the thing I would say no about is, are men going to go into gangs? Are they going to go into crime? Now, that's a choice. In my book, that's a choice. You can't blame it on where you grew up. Okay. If I went down the crime route, that's my choice. Not because my mum decided that she didn't want my father around and me and my sister to go and see my father. Okay, my mum made her choices, and she's got to live with them choices, you know. And the irony is, some of his things that he's actually said there, I can actually relate to, because my sister got sexually active at quite an early age. I didn't. Okay, I was in my 20s. My sister was about 15 or 16, which in today's society isn't probably considered is pretty late. Okay, but my sister, I'm pretty sure she was 16 if I remember rightly. She might have been 15. I know who it was. He was all right. Actually, he was a dick. Okay, but for this video, we'll say he was all right. Okay. Um, doesn't mean you're going to get into violence. No, it doesn't. That's another choice where people decide to go into violence. The same as crime. That's a choice. Now, where I would say he is categorically correct is relationships. Now, even though I'm married, and I've been married for 7 years, okay, my second marriage, okay, my first marriage, which was obviously my ex-wife Sarah, she's a lovely lady, wish her the best. We were married for just under a year. Arguments that we probably should have never got married in the first place. Okay. Mainly because her family disapproved of me. They didn't like me. It boiled a bit down to like the old Jeremy Cole argument. As soon as you go and slag off your other half to your parents, they're going to think certain things of you. And that's what she did in the early days. She went and slagged me off after we had a bit of a Barney one day. We got back together the following day. And obviously, her mum, her stepfather, and her sister had a view of me. So obviously, when we got married the following year, she refused to invite them because she knew that they would refuse to go and everything. And the reality is we probably should have never got married. And inside a year, we separated because she had multiple affairs, which is fine. I'm not going to complain about it. And I hope that she's moved on with her life and she's happy now, because obviously that's over a decade ago. Now, when I look at myself, I can relate with what he says when he talks about men struggling to have relationships. And that doesn't mean, with girlfriends or wives or whatever, because me and my wife, we've been together for 11 years. We've been married for 7. Okay, sometimes good, sometimes bad when she's irritating me and moaning at me on a consistent basis, which is most days. But normally it's good. But he is right, because I know personally I've struggled to have relationships with people. I don't have friends. If I looked at my life, I probably have two friends. And one of them be classified because he's a business acquaintance. Okay. And I've known him for quite a few years. The other person is actually from when I used to work for Texaco, and I've known him 25 years. I've known him for absolutely years. He comes around for Christmas every year. And they're the only 2 friends. Don't have female friends. Okay. The female friends I have are my wife's friends, because I'll engage with them and talk to them and be polite and civil and everything. But otherwise, it's like my mother. I don't really speak to my mother. Not anymore. I used to. First time I spoke to her, and it's actually quite funny. I think it was Boxing Day. So it's either the 26th or the 27th of December this year. And the irony was, she never actually phoned me up to speak to me. She phoned my wife up to speak to her and to speak to the kids. And she ended up having to speak to me. She spoke to me for about 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And that's the first time I'd spoken to her in 7 months. And some people can say that I'm being a bit conspiracy theorist, but I've done a video and I slagged her husband off into the ground, which is no less than he bloody deserved. and it's mainly because, and this is the irony, is he had openly admitted that he's known where my daughter is for the last 15 years, and he's refused to tell me. Okay, even when I don't know where she is, but he does, and his friends do. And obviously when I went and mentioned that, irony is they phoned me up the following day. Isn't that nice? They hadn't spoken to me for 7 months. So with what he said, a lot of what he said is true. And what women don't realise, and this can be men as well, because men can be dicks, okay, if they get custody, is you don't realise how much long-term damage you do. You really don't. Okay. And I'm not going to go grovelling or begging to my ex-girlfriend for her to let me see my daughter. What I am going to do is anybody out there that's considering doing it, unless you got a really, and I mean a really good reason. Okay, so say for instance, your ex is an addict. I accept that. Okay, so say for instance, they got an alcohol problem, a drug problem, gambling problem, something like that. Get them to get themselves clean. Stop them from seeing the kids, or make them go to court. Okay, once they sorted themselves out, then let them see the kids. If they've got a criminal issue, a crime issue, as in the criminals, get them to sort themselves out. I ain't got a problem with that. I'm not gonna have a dig at you. Okay. If there's, what's a polite way to put it? They got a thing about being with kids, as in not the type of people you really want around kids. I think that's the most polite way I can put it. I understand. I'm not going to have a go at you. But anybody else, you've got no right to do it. Because I mean it, you do not know how much damage you will do to those children. I know because I've been there. I've been there on both sides. As a child and as an adult. Okay. And to give you an idea of the damage. Now, as a kid, I never really used to speak to my mum. Okay, because I'll let you into a little story. After my mum stopped my stepfather from, sorry, not my stepfather, my father from seeing us, about a year later, might have been 2 years later, my stepfather committed suicide. Okay. So I think I was in my second year of junior school, whatever age that made me. So that was in the October. So I wouldn't have come to my next birthday because my birthday's in August. Okay. And my mum obviously had to go to work because she had a mortgage and everything. She had to get paid and pay all the bills and everything. So me and my sister would have to go to school. Okay, come home. I used to come home on my own. I have to tidy up the house and everything. And I'd rarely actually see my mum. It's not like in today's society. It would be an argument that we'd either be probably put into care, being realistic, or she'd be having to shell out money for babysitters and everything. She would have never been able to afford it. So I never had the relationship or anything. Okay, never had a relationship with anybody. The only real relationship I actually had was with my grandfather. That was the only person I really had, or my grandmother, because my grandmother had come over once a week, and I'd seen my grandfather during the school holidays. I only really see my mother in the evening, late at night, because she worked at Ladbrokes Bookmakers, and eventually went on to work for Q&R. And for those who don't know who Q&R is the people that eventually bought Titanic. Okay, so bought White Star. So that's who Q&R is. Okay, so the reality is, because of everything that happened from those days, me and my sister have spent most of our lives in counselling. Okay, on antidepressants. Wouldn't really engage or speak to anybody. So the reality is, whether people want to admit to this or not, who actually do this type of thing, you will never ever understand how much damage you will actually do to people by doing this type of thing. Okay, so if you do consider doing it, think twice. Unless you've got a really good reason, don't do it. Because as much as you're going to damage the father, okay, or it might be a mother, okay, you can damage the child 10 times fold more. Okay, and I don't mean to be aggressive by saying that. It really angers me because of what I went through as a child and what I've had to suffer for 16 years, having no idea where my daughter is and not being able to see her, and having different production companies, as in TV companies on ITV, okay, contacting her, and she can lie for her teeth as much as she likes, okay, messaging her on social media, doing videos and having them also put into newspapers, which really upset her, okay. She can say as much as she likes, but I've never cared, I've never wanted her. Now, she knows the truth. And that's why I will always say, if you ever think about it, think again. So, but I'm going to cut it short now. But for now, thanks for listening. Okay. If you enjoyed the video, please do give us a like and subscribe. But for now, thanks for watching. And we'll speak to you again a bit later.